Thank you. I'm James Holtzclaw, I represent District 20. Thank you and good morning. And I am here to represent to present House Bill 72. A couple of things. It's a pretty simple bill. On line 13, it changes shall to may. And really the meat of the bill is on page 2, lines 5 and 6. It strikes out Government of Canada and Province of Canada to allow other, and then it states government operated or government sanctioned lottery. So what this does is allows us to continue to play the Idaho Powerball with other countries. And I think it's imperative that we continue because, as you know, the schools in Idaho are fortunate to get upwards of $14 million a year for their benefit. And with that, I think that's it. I am here for any questions if y'all guys have any.
Well, Representative Holtzclaw, you know this is House State Affairs. It's the first bill up. There's got to be questions for you.
There's got to be, sir. There's got to be.
Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, we've got to ask Holtzclaw.
We have to. It's our job.
Representative Holtzclaw has some questions here. As I understand it, the issue here is whether we go Powerball goes international, and if Powerball did go international, what is the purse or what is the winner going to get? What are you looking at as far as a winning amount, and how is that going to be paid to the winner?
Representative Holtzclaw.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay with the committee, I would appreciate the director of coming up and answering that question, if that pleases the committee.
I'm fine with that. Would that be okay with you, Representative?
Well, no, Mr.
You wanted to grill Representative Holtzclaw, didn't you?
I mean,
this is your chance. I'm going to have the director testify. I think he will be signed up to testify, and when he does, we'll have him answer that question as well. Is there further questions for Representative Holtzclaw? Representative Scott.
Mine might be for the director.
Okay, that's fine. We'll catch him. Director, would you mind to come up? Give you 2 minutes to state your name and make your testimony today, and then we'll have you stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Jeff Anderson, director of Your Idaho Lottery. I think Representative Holtzclaw covered what this bill is about, and I'd be happy to stand for the questions.
Thank you, Director. First question up, we're going to go to Representative Gannon's questions with regards to the international aspect of this and the payout.
Okay. Currently, the Powerball game is a game that began in the early 1990s. Idaho was one of the first states to participate in it. There were 13 original ones. Now there are 45 states, 2 territories, and the District of Columbia that participate in the game. There are various ways to affect consumer behavior with this game. This is a big jackpot game, so players like to have big jackpots. One of the ways to do that is to increase the population playing the game. Hence, 13 states became 45, and now there is interest in Australia joining the game this year. To the question of the winner, if the winner in Australia wins the jackpot, they get the jackpot, just like someone in Idaho would. So every ticket has a portion of that is set aside for the jackpot pool. So it doesn't matter where you live. It's just, if your ticket was purchased in that jurisdiction and it has the winning combination, you will be paid that prize.
Follow up on that, Representative Gannon.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions. First, how is the payout made to the winner? And second, who gets the income taxes?
Director.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Gannon, the prize that is advertised is an annuity. It's a 30-year annuity. So if you have a $100 million advertised jackpot, that is a value over 30 years. Players have the opportunity to either accept the annuity payment, or they can take what's called a lump sum, which is obviously less than that. The Multi-State Lottery Association needs to go out and purchase an annuity to pay that $100 million. The taxes in Idaho, for example, when we have jackpot winners here, we withhold 25% for federal income tax and a little less than 7% for Idaho tax. And in the case of, for example, someone winning it in New Hampshire, there's no state income tax, but there is federal income tax. I am unclear on what the taxes are in Australia, but I would presume that state taxes there are not dissimilar to what we have in the United States.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. I have a couple different questions. My first question is, are we currently, is the Powerball currently being played in the UK right now?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, it is not.
Follow-up?
Not legally. Put it that way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I was doing a bunch of research on this last night and trying to find out more information on the Powerball, and it says a young family from Sydney are feeling overwhelmed after discovering they are winning the New South Wales entry on last night's Powerball. So is this happening illegally right now?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, in Australia, they have their own Powerball game. It's called Powerball, and it's a much smaller game than the one that we have in the United States. So I can understand how that might confuse someone when they read that news story, but there will be two Powerball games in the several states in Australia. The one they play now and the one that is being considered that we have in the United States.
Okay.
Follow-up?
Follow-up. Thank you. So then when I Googled the nationallottery.com for the Powerball and it had the British emblem, it showed the Powerballs that were in the United States. And it was confusing to me then. It was the same numbers, the same date picked, everything was aligned. So is it connected already?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, it is not connected. However, where the Powerball brand is not being used in a particular country, there is no trademark right. There is no copyright right. And in the instance of what you're seeing in Europe, there is a company on the island of Malta that uses the numbers that we choose from our random ball machine, and they buy insurance policies on the jackpot, and they go out and they sell our tickets. And part of the purpose of international expansion is to begin to protect that trademark in other countries. And in this instance, it would be Australia and the United Kingdom.
One last
Certainly.
question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. Who is our current contract with for Powerball, and who would the contract be with? I've come up with National Lottery and the Multi-State Lottery Association. Is that the two that we're looking at here for contracting?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, the Multi-State Lottery Association is an association of governmental lotteries in the United States. As I mentioned earlier, 45 states, 2 territories, the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and the District of Columbia. We are members of that association. The Idaho Lottery has been since 1990. And the National Lottery, I presume you're talking about United Kingdom. They currently do not have authority to sell the game, our game, and be part of our process.
Quick clarification on that.
Certainly.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, Director. So currently, who are we in contract with for Powerball, and who would that change to if we go on to the UK and these other countries?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, it would be the Multi-State Lottery Association. It would still be the Multi-State Lottery Association. They are simply licensing the game to the several states in Australia, much like they do to non-Multi-State Lottery Association members in the United States. There are 11 states that are not members of our group, but we do license the game to them. It would be states, there's 11 of them: Maryland, Illinois, California. All of them escape me right now, but we do license the game to other lotteries.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. I'm wondering if you could please speak to the change on page 1, line 13, from shall to may, and what the potential benefit of that might be.
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Young, as we were going through this, that section of code, if it remains shall, means, at least my understanding of the word shall would be that the commission shall do what I say. They don't have to do what I say, which is why we changed it to may.
Follow up?
Follow up, if I may. So it's, as I look down through this section, it also includes some provisions for legislative oversight. Would those provisions be impacted by the use of a may?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Young, I don't believe so. I am the secretary of the commission. They approve the things we do, including staying in the Powerball game when it goes international. And I don't believe it would preclude any legislative oversight. When we changed it to may, it simply means that the commission may accept recommendations from the director and staff as opposed to shall.
Representative Barbieri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Director. I'm questioning the policy here going international. Can you first address the foreign currency issue? Will they be paid in American dollars if a winner is in Australia, or how does that work in terms of exchange values?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Barbieri, they will be paid in Australian dollars. And the lotteries in Australia would need to settle up with us in U.S. dollars for their contribution to the jackpot pool, their obligation to a winner in the United States.
Follow up?
Yes, and so the exchange rate would be whatever it is going that day or whatever. Yeah, I guess it's set daily, so the exchange rate would be whatever is set that day in terms of this exchange that goes on.
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Barbieri, that's correct.
One more, Mr. Chairman.
Representative, could you speak more into your microphone so those that are streaming can hear what you're asking? Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Now I'll speak too loud probably. Odds are pretty much at the heart of the whole gambling scenario here, and so can you help me understand the chances of an Idahoan winning this Powerball and the chances of Idaho money leaving the state? Have you guys done the figures on the odds and the chances on this that kind of a scenario?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Barbieri, to the second part of your question, we contribute to the jackpot pool like every other member or selling lottery in this game and others that are similar. So out of every $2 in the ticket, about 30% of that goes to the jackpot pool, which is transferred to the Multi-State Lottery Association. They hold it in trust until a jackpot is won and the claimant decides whether they want an annuity or a lump sum payment. As it relates to the odds of winning this game are 1 in 292 million to win the jackpot. Those odds are the same on every ticket, everywhere where they're sold. So the odds that anyone in any one particular place wins are no different here than they are anywhere else. You can buy 10 tickets, and each ticket still has 1 in 292 million odds.
Representative Skog.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Director, good morning.
Good morning.
I could have gone through the budget, but I didn't get a chance. So how much do advertisers make from the lottery advertising?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Skog, how much does who? The media or the?
Media, advertising, how much do you put into advertising for Powerball?
Thank you. Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Skog, we allocate about 1% of our sales to advertising. It's about $3 million. Powerball might be about $500,000 of that for, the big jackpot signs you see on the freeway and roadsides and point of sale materials and other things.
Follow up?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. How much do the retailers make, roughly, do you know?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Skog, they make 5% commission, and there's an additional 1% that is set aside for a bonus pool. When you sell a big jackpot, you get a bonus. So it's it's 6% every year, 5.9 to 6% every year are paid to the retailers.
Can you do the math for me? Because I'm kind of slow on math. What would that be roughly?
Director?
Chairman, Representative Skog, on $300 million, 10% is 30 million, 3 million, 3 million times 6, $18 million.
Thank you. Follow up?
Certainly.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director, have the odds improved for the individual gambler who buys a ticket over the years, or have they gotten worse? And would they get worse if we bring in Australia, UK, or China, or whoever?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Skog, as I mentioned earlier, the odds are the same on every ticket. We're not talking about China. We're talking about Australia in 2021 and the UK in 2022. So, the odds of winning the Powerball game, the jackpot on the Powerball game are the same everywhere all the time for each ticket. And I'm sorry, the second part of your question?
Mr.
Could you
Chairman,
restate your question again?
I read somewhere, and I don't remember where, that the odds have gotten worse or less likely to win over time on Powerball. Some years ago, it was better odds. Is that true?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Skog, the odds have changed over the years. Yes, in 1990, when we started in the game, the jackpot started at $2 million and we had lines around the corner. I don't know what the exact odds were. They were probably 1 in 50 million. And as more jurisdictions are added, we need to balance the amount of tickets sold, and the way to do that is either with how much you charge for a ticket and or the odds of winning the jackpot. The odds of winning a prize have not changed in a material way. The odds of winning the jackpot have.
This question. Representative Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, are the margins or percent profit, probably margin's the right word for it, between one game and the other all the same? Or does Powerball make the state more money than other games as far as a percentage, not as a whole?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Palmer, the contribution to our gross profit varies from game to game. Powerball and Mega Millions are both our highest gross profit games. The prize expense is 50%. When you get into some of our scratch games, they can be as high as 70%. So, talking about odds of winning, the odds of winning a prize on a scratch game are better than winning a prize on Powerball. Of course, you don't have an opportunity to imagine what you do with $500 million.
Further question. Representative Anders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. My question is on the fiscal note, it says that the lottery keeps 50% gross profit from the sales on this game, and referring to 28 million. Where's the other 50%? I think you said 30% for the pool, 5% for the commission to the vendors, but where's the rest of that money?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Andrus, all the other prizes in the game. So if you have a ticket for $2, the prize expense is $1. That includes all the prizes in the game, including the contribution to the jackpot pool. The other 50 cents pays our retailers, our operating expenses, and the balance goes to the dividend.
Follow up?
Certainly.
So there's no money going out of state for operation of the Powerball game?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Andrus, no, that's not true. We do contribute to the jackpot pool. We transfer that money to the Multi-State Lottery Association. So that money goes out. All the rest of the prizes we're responsible for. And that's that difference between the 30% and the 50%.
Follow up?
Certainly.
So not meaning the pool, but the administration expense of the owners of Powerball. How much goes to that?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Andrus, we have a $20,000 a year fee that we pay the Multi-State Lottery Association for the privilege of participating in Powerball.
Representative Gann. Oh, sorry. Representative Anders, did you have another question?
I'll later. Later is fine.
Well, let's go. We got the director here. Let's go ahead and get the
Okay.
questions for the director.
So follow up to what Representative Skog was talking about, you mentioned that this is just UK and Australia, not China. But opening this up, if the Powerball decided to go to China, would you have to come back to this legislature to get approval?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Andrus, that won't happen. Based on the scenario you've outlined, we would not have to do that. But the Powerball game group is not going to be participating with countries like China. There's a reason why Australia and the UK are included in this notion of going international. They are very similar to the United States in terms of their legal systems are based on English law. And we have rights and contracts and agreements and all kinds of other things that are not always necessarily recognized in places that don't have that type of legal environment.
Thank you, Director. Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. So you'd be okay then if this bill was amended in putting in a sentence or two that says that there will be no Powerball in countries, in other countries such as China or Russia?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Gannon, I think the alternative to that would be the corollary, and that would be to identify the ones that we do prefer, as opposed to calling out a particular country and making it negative. It would be positive, and it might, we might unstrike the portion of page 2 that speaks to the provinces of Canada, leave that in, and then include Australia and the United Kingdom.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. Well, we could say you could put in language, no other country except the ones, and including China and Russia in the no other country.
Director?
Mr. Chairman, that would not be my preference, but you all know how to write these laws better than I do. So if that's something that you want to include, then that would be what's going to be voted on in the House. So I think if we limit it to the places where we want to do, then if Ireland or France want to come, then we just have to come back and talk to you again.
Go ahead, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ireland's okay, but being part Irish, no. But seriously, where would I go? I've got the internet on. Where would I go to find the names of the directors and those who are responsible for the decision making that led to Powerball going international?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Gannon, it would be at Multi-State Lottery Association. If you search that, you would find the association's website, which shows all of the participating jurisdictions. I don't know that we have on there a list of all the directors. I've been very fortunate to be in my 14th year, but the average tenure of a lottery director is less than 2 years. So it's kind of hard to keep up with keeping that list current.
Representative Hanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have kind of a question on, so how would it work with like the time zones, how you figure all that out as far as if we expand that?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Hanks, the drawing will occur at the same time as it does right now, which is 10:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesdays and Saturdays. In August, Monday will be added as well, so it'd be 3 nights a week. So, in Idaho, that's 8:59, and Pacific it's 7:59, and I don't even know. Is that tomorrow or yesterday in Australia? It would be the same.
All right, thank you.
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. I just want to go back and revisit, you were talking about the branding of the word Powerball and how these other places are maybe using them and using our number. And I'm just wondering how we can avoid stuff like that if we team with this. And I'm concerned for legal problems that it's going to arise. When I see that these countries have the same numbers and they're telling me that people are winning in their country, that doesn't make sense. So can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, I think when I talked about being able to protect the trademark in international law, unless it's in use in a particular country by us, others can squat on that brand. And that is what is occurring in certain parts of the world right now. The states in Australia have long had a very small Powerball game, primarily because we couldn't protect our trademark there. I think the UK is one that is very, very interesting and opportunistic for the brand because it is one of the biggest gaming markets in the world. And if we are active there with the United Kingdom, what we in the industry call synthetic lotteries, where they don't really do the drawing, they're not connected to us. They simply look at our numbers, buy an insurance policy. What does an insurance policy cost based on the odds for a $100 million prize, a $500 million prize? If we're active in the United Kingdom, that puts a significant pinch on the synthetic lotteries who are doing these things because they like to sell them in the biggest gaming market in the world.
One last follow-up. So if they're already abusing this name now, why do we want to be part of that?
Director?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, we would not be part of it with those people. This is not who the game would be licensed to.
Any further questions for the director? Director, thank you for being here. You might hang around just at the end if there's some further questions.
Okay, certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We do have one individual signed up to testify from Bonners Ferry today. Linda from Bonners Ferry is our only person that signed up virtual testimony on this bill. Linda, if you can hear us, if you would state your name and who you represent, you'll be given 2 minutes today for public testimony. Linda, our IT guy is saying that you are still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Linda, just state your name and who you represent, and we'll have 2 minutes today for public testimony.
Yes, I'm Linda Fioravanti from the JBS Society in Bonners Ferry. And I want to have you vote no on this bill. I fought an Indian casino that was coming into 3 cities that they didn't have reservation land on. So I got to know gambling pretty well, and approving this is just helping to open up a Pandora's box, as we can already hear from the person in charge of this Powerball, where he said, that they wouldn't have to come back to our state in order to get other countries involved. I found researching in the other Indian casino issues that it was foreign countries coming into our country to push these Indian casinos within our states. You ask any sheriff across the United States that has a casino in it, and they say that's where all the criminal activity is happening. So I just feel like this bill is going to help bring in more nefarious characters from around the world into our state on the Powerball issue. So I think having just Canada and us is enough cause for alarm than other countries coming in. That's all.
Okay, Linda, thank you very much. Are there questions for Linda? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today, Linda. We'll go to our in-person testimony. Susie Budge? She's out. Okay. Yes.
She's in the other room.
Okay. Susie, if you can see me, usually there's about a 2-minute delay. Get on down here. We'll make sure you get an opportunity to testify. Is there anyone in the room that would like to testify today? Go ahead. Wayne, come forward, state your name, who you represent. You'll be given 2 minutes today for public testimony.
Chairman, committee, for the record, Wayne Hoffman, president of Idaho Freedom Foundation. I've always felt that politicians should have a Hippocratic oath like doctors, do no harm. And I would submit to you that that's exactly what a government-run lottery does, is harm. And that's why I think you should vote against House Bill 72. Harm is baked into every lottery's business model. That business model requires people, especially poor people, to put their hard-earned money in and lose it. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Leonard Read, who was the founder of the Foundation for Economic Freedom. He said, ideally, government is the agency which society uses to protect economic and other rights from fraud, violence, and the like in the interest of common justice. When government itself becomes unjust, when it turns from protector to predator, or when it invites gambling as an economic means of financing its operation, it divests itself of respectability. And I would submit to you that the evidence is absolutely clear. There have been multiple studies, and even your own lottery commission has cited them from time to time, that shows the most vulnerable participates in the lottery. They're the ones, and I've been there too, really poor and hoping that I'll win $10,000 or $50,000 or $1 million or whatever. And we're the ones giving a false sense of hope, that's meted out by our government, the creature that is supposed to be designed not to cause us harm. All of us would have been better off investing in stocks or real estate or Bitcoin. My friend Marty Trillhouse, who is the editorial writer at the Lewiston Tribune, he and I don't agree on much. He's very liberal. Of course, I'm very conservative. Beats me up every week in the paper, which is fine. But we were just talking the other day, and we both agree, a conservative and a liberal, that the lottery does more harm than good, and we agree that it is a predation on the weakest and most vulnerable of Idahoans. So I would just ask you, please don't expand more government in order to prey upon people who don't understand mathematics. So please oppose House Bill 72. Thank you. I'd be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Are there questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Committee.
Next up is Susie Budge. Welcome, Susie. Come forward, state your name, who you represent. You have 2 minutes today for public testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I appreciate your tolerance for me running down the hallway. With a 2-minute delay, it's a confusing process for those of us on the overflow room. My name is Susie Budge. I'm here today on behalf of the Idaho Petroleum Marketers and Convenience Store Association, and I also would like to represent Pam Eaton's group, the Idaho Retailers Association, and her organization as well, to ask you to please support this bill. Our respective retailers sell a tremendous amount of material, food, services, fuel in the state of Idaho, and had stayed open as essential services throughout the process. The lottery is a part of the business that we provide our consumers, and it certainly helps retail, particularly in rural areas, but also urban. Often the stores we represent are the only ones available for people to get their material and supplies. And we have long worked with the lottery and the director and have come to a very good working relationship in a way that our folks support the state and support the lottery as a way of not just driving traffic, but also serving their consumers. So I could give you some statistics on the dollars that the C-stores brought into the state of Idaho, just because I never like to miss an opportunity to do that. We have 800 convenience stores in the state of Idaho and bring in $369 million worth of fuel tax, which we remit and convey to the state of Idaho for the purposes of infrastructure. And so would like to just point out that during a pandemic in particular, when our volumes have been down, even a little bit that helps with the lottery is something that helps improve the economic boost, both of your communities, the stores I represent, and for the school children of the state of Idaho. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Questions? Representative Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Susie, I was just curious. I'm not sure I made the connection there. You're saying that because these convenience stores bring in fuel tax, the lotto, I didn't get the connection. $369 million for
Miss-
fuel tax.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Scott, it is the connection of the traffic that gets driven through our stores. And so it is an amalgam of not just the fuel tax, but other retail sales that are involved with traffic. And as many of you know, convenience stores are convenience stores, and they're used by hundreds of people, and we do more than 1 million transactions every year. So it's the combined effect, Representative Scott.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Ms. Budge.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience today that would like to testify on House Bill 72? Seeing none, you can stay right there, Representative Holtzclaw. We'll allow you to wrap up from right there. And if there are questions, you can take them or you can deflect to the director, whatever your preference is. You'll give 3 minutes today for you to wrap up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think it's going to take me that long. This bill is not about if you like the lottery or if you don't. This bill does not expand the lottery. It just allows us the ability to continue to play it. This is part of the PAC, the one that the people voted on. Vote your conscience as usual. I just want to say that I'm doing this for the schools, for the $14 million that they get. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Holtzclaw. Are there questions for Representative Holtzclaw? Seeing none, House Bill 72 is properly before the committee. Representative Mathias.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Representative Holtzclaw. I do have a concern about this bill. I'm not persuaded that it hurts poor people. That's, concerns for Idaho's poorest is not a through line I hear a lot in our legislature, so I'm not persuaded that now's the time to pick that mantle up. I'm not persuaded that this grows our government. I don't think this requires any new hires. I don't think this requires I think it just reduces the odds for potential winners. But I do think it's good for small business. I think it's good for some big businesses. I think it's good for our schools. But my concern is the delegation of authority and essentially turning over our sovereignty to this multi-state lottery association. I don't know if it's directors or commissioners or who these board members are. I think we should be concerned that they could be persuaded, they could be lobbied heavily by countries that we are not particularly friendly with. And so I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, if possible, to send this to general orders to fix that problem, or at least perceived problem.
So, committee, we have a motion to send House Bill 72 to general orders. Representative Skog.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak to that motion and make comment and also make a motion.
Certainly.
Fellow members of the committee, I didn't hear from anyone today in testimony or by email that they just love to play the lottery and this is so wonderful. Please keep Powerball going. This was a non-lottery, Lotto America is where this came from. It was a nonprofit organization formed by lobbyists and U.S. corporations long ago. The odds are 1 in 292,201 and 338 to win the Powerball. The odds will worsen, I think, I'm not a mathematician, if we add in other countries and make it all the worse for the gambler. Lobbyists long ago, when the lottery came to our state, told us how it would solve all of our problems for school funding, kind of like free money. And it's more the states become addicted to this than the gamblers. It's only $14 million. That sounds like a big number, but not in comparison to our $2.2 billion K through 12 budget. It would be easy. We have more money than we know what to do with this year to make that up through JFAC or on the budget of the $14 million. We'll still have Mega Millions and the other lottery here in the state if this goes down. And nationally, it's undisputed. If you look at the articles, the biggest concentrations of Powerball stations where you buy the tickets are in the poorest neighborhoods around the country. That's where they sell the most. It kind of reminds me, with going this international, of dystopian novels and movies, Blade Runner, 1984, about the big lottery, the false hope that it gives people. And that bothers me. And so it seems to me like it's more for the retailers and maybe all the people that make money on this, the advertisers and the media, than it is for anybody else. It doesn't do that much for education compared to what they promised us a long time ago in this state. And the international, opening that up, that is a real problem. Our job as a committee is to protect the floor from bad bills. This is a bad bill, especially with the international. So I'll be asking that you please vote no and kill this thing right now.
So,
and I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that we hold in committee.
So committee, we have a substitute motion to hold House Bill 72 in committee. Is there discussion on that motion? Representative Gannon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Well, I have a question, and that is if we do hold this in committee, if we don't do anything, is the lottery ended?
So, in my understanding, Representative Gannon, the lottery would still be in place. The Powerball portion of the lottery, they would not have the ability to further on with that. And I'm getting an affirmative nod from the director on that. Representative Scott.
Thank you. I want to testify in favor of the
Want to speak in favor of the motion?
Substitute motion.
Okay.
You know, I've done a lot of research on this bill because I've never been approached by so many lobbyists for one bill. And I've learned that Idaho has not had a Powerball winner for the last 10 years. And now we're going to expand the base of people playing into the UK and Australia. And the UK is, you know, England, Scotland, Wales, North Ireland. And then we add Australia. That's going to put a bigger base. You don't have to be a mathematician to realize more people are going to be involved in that. And the chances, since we've had 0 in 10 years, is going to be decreased. So my other big concern is that we are teaming with the UK, the National Lottery. It's called the National Lottery. And when I looked them up and researched them, it says 53% goes to the prize fund and 25% goes to good causes. And I'm concerned when we team with another country, what are those good causes? Because they might not be, they probably could be in Australia, anti-gun causes, which they see as good and we see as not good. And so for those reasons, and the other thing is to protect the trademark, it is not our responsibility to protect the trademark of Powerball. That is not our responsibility as a legislator. This is a private corporation. They're making a ton of money, I'm sure. It's not our responsibility. And I do see it as an expansion, and I'm not against gambling, but I'm against when the state's all in and the private is not allowed to compete with that. I have a problem with the double standards there. So I'm going to vote in favor of the substitute motion.
Thank you, Representative Scott. Is there further discussion on the substitute motion?
Can I ask for a roll call, please?
Roll call's been requested.
Thank you.
Representative Gannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had another question, and that is, I don't think we got a figure on, since the lottery would continue if we didn't have Powerball. I've been reading a little bit about the Multi-State Lottery Association here, and how much of a reduction would there be in revenue if we were not in the Powerball, but we just had the lottery?
Is that correct, Director? Director, would you like to come answer the question? I think the net loss to the state's between 14 and 15 million, but we'll let the Director address it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Representative Gannon, the average contribution to the dividend over the last 10 years has been $14 million. This current year, our sales through Sunday were $20 million. We're pacing to 28. So that's 14 million. And that would be the difference in the following year that would be available to the beneficiaries of the game.
That answer your 14 million?
Follow-up question, Mr. Chairman?
Follow-up question, okay.
So as I understand it, the lottery contributes a total of about 30 million, right? So are you saying that about 15 million goes to the building facility, the building authority, and then 15 million goes to the schools for buildings, right? Is that about
Mr.
right?
Chairman, Representative Gannon, that is not correct.
Okay.
The forecast for our dividend this year is $60 million.
Okay.
14 million of that is attributable to the Powerball game.
So there would be, Okay. Follow up, Mr. Chair?
Follow up? Okay.
So there would be 46 million in the lottery, then divided in half, 23 to the schools and 23 to the building fund. Is that
Director?
without the Powerball?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Gannon, that is not correct.
Oh, okay.
In the statute that speaks to the bond levy equalization fund, the schools and buildings get half of the first $37 million.
Okay.
As it gets bigger than $37 million, the bond levy equalization fund begins to get a portion of that, up to 25%. Right now, they get 25% of the dividend. When you get down to 46 million, that's the money that's impacted first and the most predominantly. So schools and buildings still get 50%, up to 37 million, but there are three beneficiaries. Public school maintenance and operations budget for safe schools, permanent building fund for permanent buildings projects, and the bond levy equalization fund.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Got a substitute motion to hold House Bill 72 in committee. Further discussion on that motion? Representative Furness.
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, just to discuss the bill.
Director, you're fine. You can sit down.
I'm going to be supporting the first motion just on the basis that this is a cut. This is a $14 million cut to the budget. I would really like to share that vote with the floor and let them make a decision on that as a body rather than 8 of us make a decision to cut $14 million out of the budget. And so I'll be supporting the first motion.
Thank you, Representative Furthers. Further discussion on the substitute motion? Hearing none, the Secretary will call the roll. And the substitute motion is to hold House Bill 72 in committee.
Chairman Crane.
Aye.
Representative Armstrong. Aye. Representative Palmer. Representative Barbieri.
Aye.
Representative Holtzclaw. Representative Monks. Representative Scott. Aye. Representative Andrus.
Aye.
Representative Young. Aye. Representative Furness. Representative Hanks. Aye. Oops. Representative Skog. Aye. Representative Gannon. Representative Matthias.
What do you have? 10-4. Motion passes 10-4. House Bill 72 will be held in committee.